If you wake up every morning with a heavy stomach, if it feels like a balloon has inflated in your belly after every single meal, if you've tried hundreds of home remedies, dozens of English medicines, and countless YouTube hacks but your gas, your constipation, and your stomach heat still won't go away no matter what you do, then I'm about to tell you something you've probably never heard from anyone before. Not from your family doctor, not from your local pharmacist, and definitely not from the hundreds of health videos you've already watched. Over the past 15 years of practice, I have personally seen thousands of patients suffering from stomach heat, gas, and constipation. Men, women, teenagers, elderly people, patients from every age group, every background, every lifestyle. And the most surprising discovery of my entire career is this: 90% of them were making the exact same mistake. One single mistake, repeated daily, without anyone ever realizing it. A mistake so common, so deeply normalized in our culture, that you yourself might be making it right now, at this very moment, without even knowing it. And here's the scariest part. This isn't just some minor mistake that causes a little discomfort. This one habit is the root cause of gas and constipation. And if left unchecked for years, it can silently progress into ulcers, piles, fissures, and a permanently weakened digestive system that no medicine can easily fix. Today, in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what this mistake is, the science behind why it destroys your digestive health, real patient stories from my own clinic, and most importantly, the exact steps you can take starting today, right now, to begin reversing the damage. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll also get 3 simple, completely free methods that you can start using tonight before you even go to sleep, to start giving your stomach real, lasting relief. So, let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is dedicated to everyone who wakes up daily with stomach discomfort. Everyone who has started to fear eating because every single meal seems to be followed by bloating, gas, and that uncomfortable heaviness. Everyone who tosses and turns at night because of stomach burning, unable to get a full, peaceful night's sleep. If this sounds like you, I want you to know, you are not alone. In fact, you are part of a massive, silent majority. Digestive issues like gas, acidity, and constipation are among the most common complaints I see in my clinic every single day. But here's what troubles me the most as a doctor. Most people never actually get better. They manage their symptoms for years, sometimes decades, without ever solving the real problem. Why does this happen? Because in my experience, most people only try to treat gas and constipation from the top. Meaning, the moment discomfort hits, they reach for an antacid tablet, or they try some quick home remedy they saw online. The pain goes away for a few hours, maybe even a day, and then it comes right back. This cycle repeats itself for years, but almost no one ever stops to ask, why does this keep happening again and again? And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today, because the root of this problem isn't some rare medical condition. It isn't bad luck, and it isn't simply how your body is. The root is a habit, one we've all learned since childhood, one we consider completely normal because everyone around us does it too, but one that is slowly, silently, and consistently destroying our digestive system, year after year, meal after meal. A true story. Some time ago, a man came to see me at my clinic. He was around 35 years old, working a desk job, married, with 2 young children. His main complaint was that his stomach would bloat almost immediately after eating, sometimes within just 10 or 15 minutes of finishing a meal. He would burp constantly throughout the day, which embarrassed him in meetings and social gatherings. And at night, a burning sensation in his chest would keep him from getting proper sleep, leaving him exhausted and irritable the next morning. He told me he had been dealing with this for the past 3 years. 3 full years of discomfort, frustration, and constantly searching for answers. In that time, he had tried virtually everything. Every type of antacid tablet available at the pharmacy, multiple gas relief syrups, Ayurvedic powders his mother recommended, herbal teas his colleagues swore by. He had even gone through a full course of treatment from a gastroenterologist, who ran tests, found nothing seriously wrong, and simply prescribed more antacids. But the relief was always temporary. He would feel better for a few hours, sometimes a full day if he was lucky, and then the bloating, the burping, and the burning would return like clockwork. He told me he had genuinely started to believe this was simply going to be his life from now on, that he would have to live with this discomfort forever. When I sat down with him and asked detailed questions about his daily routine, not just what he ate, but how he ate, when he drank water, how fast he finished his meals, one specific pattern emerged. A pattern he himself had never noticed before, because it was something he had been doing his entire life without a second thought. It was something his parents did, something his co-workers did, something that felt completely normal. This was the exact mistake I'm about to explain to you today. And here's what happened next. When he changed just this one habit, without taking any new medicine, without spending a single extra rupee on treatment, without any complicated lifestyle overhaul, the results were remarkable. Within 2 weeks, his gas and bloating had dropped by roughly 70%. Within a month, his chronic constipation, something he had also been quietly struggling with for years, was completely gone. His sleep improved, his confidence in social situations improved, and perhaps most importantly, he finally felt like he understood his own body again. I've since seen this exact same pattern repeat itself in patient after patient. Different ages, different backgrounds, different lifestyles, but the same underlying mistake. What is the actual mistake? The mistake is this: drinking large amounts of water or other beverages with meals, or immediately after eating, combined with eating too quickly and swallowing food without chewing it properly. I want you to pause for a second and really think about your own habits. Do you drink a full glass of water while eating? Do you finish your meal and immediately gulp down a cold drink, a lassi, or a glass of water? Do you eat quickly because you're rushing to work, rushing to get back to your phone, or simply because that's how you've always eaten? If you're nodding along right now, don't worry, you're in good company. Almost everyone does this, but let me explain, step by step, exactly how this seemingly harmless habit causes so much damage to your digestive system. Reason number 1, it disrupts your stomach's acid balance. Your stomach naturally produces hydrochloric acid, a powerful digestive fluid that's essential for breaking down the food you eat. This acid isn't just helpful, it's absolutely critical. Without sufficient stomach acid, your food simply cannot be digested properly. When you drink a large amount of water during a meal, or immediately after one, that water dilutes this digestive acid. Think of it like adding water to a strong cup of tea. The stronger flavor gets weaker, less effective. The same thing happens inside your stomach. The acid becomes too diluted to properly break down the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats you've just eaten. When the acid is too weak, your food doesn't get digested the way it should. Instead of being broken down efficiently and moving through your digestive system smoothly, it sits in your stomach for much longer than it's supposed to. And undigested food that sits around doesn't just wait patiently, it starts to ferment. This fermentation process is exactly what produces the gas that causes that uncomfortable bloating feeling you're so familiar with. Reason number 2, swallowing food without chewing. Here's something most people never learn. Digestion doesn't start in your stomach, it starts in your mouth. Your saliva contains a special enzyme called amylase. The moment you start chewing your food, this enzyme begins breaking down starches and carbohydrates. This is the very first stage of the entire digestive process, and it's absolutely essential for everything that happens afterward. When we eat quickly, taking large bites, barely chewing, and swallowing food almost whole, this critical first stage of digestion never properly happens. We're essentially skipping an entire step in the process. The result? Your stomach and intestines are forced to work twice as hard to compensate for what should have already been partially broken down in your mouth. This extra workload doesn't just disappear without consequence. It shows up as gas, as bloating, as that heavy, uncomfortable feeling after meals, and as general indigestion that seems to have no clear cause. Reason number 3, slower bowel movement. When your food isn't digested properly from the very beginning, it doesn't move smoothly and efficiently through your intestines the way it's supposed to. Instead, it moves slowly, sluggishly, often sitting in place for extended periods. This slow movement is the actual root cause of constipation for a huge number of people. Most people assume constipation is simply about not drinking enough water during the day or not eating enough fiber. And while those factors do play a role, in my experience, the real underlying cause for the vast majority of patients is this exact pattern: eating and drinking in a way that disrupts proper digestion from the very first bite. Reason number 4, stomach heat and acidity. Here's where things connect even further. When food sits in your stomach for too long without being properly digested and starts to ferment, your stomach senses that something isn't right. In response, it tries to produce even more acid to break down that lingering food. This extra acid doesn't always stay where it should. Some of it travels back upward, into your esophagus, the tube connecting your throat to your stomach. This upward movement of acid is exactly what we call stomach heat or acid reflux. It's the source of that burning sensation you feel in your chest, sometimes even reaching up into your throat. So you can see how all 4 of these issues, diluted acid, incomplete digestion, slow bowel movement, and acid reflux are all connected, all stemming from that one same root mistake. Why is this mistake so common? Now you might be asking, if this habit is so harmful, why does almost everyone do it? Why hasn't anyone warned us about this before? The answer lies deep in our culture and our daily lifestyle, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. In our society, drinking cold water, lassi, or soft drinks alongside meals is incredibly common. Walk into any family gathering, any wedding, any everyday dinner table, and you'll see the same scene repeated over and over: large jugs of water or cold drinks placed right next to the food, with everyone taking sips throughout the meal. This isn't seen as unusual in any way. In fact, it would be unusual not to do this. Since this pattern has been passed down through generations, from our grandparents, to our parents, to us, no one has ever stopped to question whether it might actually be harmful. On top of this cultural habit, there's also the simple reality of modern, fast-paced life. People genuinely don't have time to eat properly anymore. Office workers have short lunch breaks and feel pressured to finish quickly and get back to their desks. Students rush through breakfast before school. Parents eat standing up while managing children. We don't sit down and eat our food mindfully. We swallow it as fast as possible so we can move on to the next task. This constant rushing, this lack of awareness around something as basic as eating, slowly chips away at our digestive health over the years. It's not one single meal that causes the damage. It's the accumulation of thousands of meals eaten this way over months and years that eventually catches up with us. A second patient story. Let me share one more example, because I think it really drives this point home. I once had a patient, a woman in her late 40s, who came to me convinced she had some serious underlying disease. She had constant bloating, severe constipation that sometimes lasted 3 to 4 days at a time, and frequent stomach cramps that left her doubled over in pain. She had already undergone an ultrasound, blood tests, and even an endoscopy, all of which came back completely normal. Her previous doctors told her there was nothing wrong with her, which only added to her frustration and anxiety because clearly something was wrong. She was in real daily discomfort. When she came to me, I asked her to walk me through a typical day of eating, in complete detail. She described finishing each meal within about 5 to 7 minutes, always accompanied by a large glass of iced water that she would refill at least once during the meal. She admitted, almost laughing about it, that she had never really chewed her food in the way we're discussing today. She had simply always eaten fast, her whole life, without ever thinking twice about it. We worked together to slowly change this pattern. It wasn't easy at first. Old habits, especially ones tied to our entire upbringing, can be surprisingly difficult to break. But within 3 weeks, her bloating had noticeably reduced, and within 6 weeks, her constipation episodes had gone from lasting 3 to 4 days down to occurring rarely and resolving within a single day when they did happen. She later told me this was the first time in over a decade that she felt like she had real control over her own digestive health, instead of just managing symptoms as they came. What diseases does this mistake lead to? Now let me walk you through exactly where this habit can lead if it continues unchecked for years. I want to be very clear and very direct here, because I think too many health videos sugarcoat this kind of information, and people end up not taking it seriously enough. Stage 1. This is where most people start. Mild gas, occasional burping, a slight heaviness in the stomach after meals. These early symptoms are so mild and so common that most people simply ignore them, assuming it's just normal or just how my stomach is. Stage 2. Over time, without any change in habits, this progresses to more persistent symptoms. Regular constipation, more frequent stomach heat, chest burning that starts to happen multiple times a week, and noticeable discomfort after nearly every meal. At this stage, most people finally start taking action. But unfortunately, that action is usually limited to popping antacid tablets whenever symptoms flare up. These tablets do provide relief, but only temporarily, because they're treating the symptom, not the actual underlying cause. Stage 3. If this pattern continues for years without addressing the root cause, the constant excess acid and irritation can begin to weaken the stomach's protective lining. Over time, this can develop into ulcers, painful sores in the lining of the stomach or upper intestine that require much more serious medical treatment. Chronic, long-term constipation at this stage can also lead to painful conditions like piles, hemorrhoids, and fissures, both of which significantly affect quality of life. Stage 4. In the most severe and long-term cases, the entire intestinal system can become permanently weakened and dysregulated. This is sometimes diagnosed as irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, a chronic condition that affects how the intestines function on a daily basis, causing unpredictable episodes of pain, bloating, diarrhea, or constipation. At this stage, treatment becomes significantly longer, more complicated, and more expensive, often requiring ongoing management for years. This is exactly why I always tell my patients, without exception, never take small, seemingly harmless habits lightly. These small, everyday habits are precisely what become the root of much bigger, much more serious health problems down the line. The good news, though, is that catching this early, at stage 1 or stage 2, makes reversing the damage relatively quick and simple. So what's the treatment? Now for the part you've been waiting for. The good news, and I really do mean this, is that the solution here isn't found in any expensive medicine, any complicated procedure, or any difficult lifestyle overhaul. It simply requires changing a small handful of daily habits. Habits that cost absolutely nothing and that you can start implementing literally today. Let me walk you through the 3 key methods I personally give to every single patient who comes to me with this issue. Method number 1, get the timing of your water intake right. This is, without question, the single most important change you can make. Drink your water at least 30 minutes before sitting down to eat. This gives your stomach time to prepare properly for digestion. Then, after your meal, avoid drinking water for at least 45 minutes to a full hour. This window allows your stomach acid to remain at full strength, properly breaking down everything you've just eaten. If you absolutely feel thirsty during a meal, which is completely understandable, especially with certain spicy or dry foods, limit yourself to just 1 or 2 small sips of lukewarm or room temperature water. Avoid cold water entirely during meals, as cold temperatures can further slow down the digestive process. I know this might feel difficult at first, especially if you've been doing the opposite your entire life, but I promise you, adopt this one single habit consistently, and you will start noticing a real difference within just 1 week. Method number 2. Chew every single bite at least 20 to 30 times. I know this sounds excessive, maybe even a little strange, but please hear me out. This is one of the most fundamental foundational rules of digestive health, and it's something almost nobody actually practices. When you chew your food thoroughly, it becomes partially broken down, almost like a liquid paste, before it even reaches your stomach. This dramatically reduces the workload your stomach and intestines have to perform afterward. Additionally, eating more slowly gives your brain the necessary time to register that you're actually full, which has the added benefit of naturally reducing overeating, something many of us struggle with as well. I tell my patients to try counting their chews for at least the first few meals, just to get a real sense of how quickly they normally eat. Most people are shocked to discover they're only chewing each bite 5 or 6 times before swallowing, far short of what their body actually needs. Method number 3. Don't lie down immediately after eating. Take a short walk instead. Lying down right after a meal, whether for a nap or just to relax on the couch, is unfortunately part of this same harmful overall pattern that slows digestion to a crawl. When you lie flat, gravity is no longer helping move food through your digestive tract, and this can also make acid reflux significantly worse. Instead, try to take a slow, gentle walk for at least 10 to 15 minutes after eating. This doesn't need to be intense exercise, just a calm, easy stroll around your house, your yard, or your neighborhood. This simple movement improves stomach motility, meaning it helps your digestive muscles actually move food along properly toward your intestines, exactly the way they're designed to. One extra tip, specifically for nighttime. Since so many of you have told me that your symptoms feel worse specifically at night, I want to give you one additional very specific tip. If you experience stomach heat or burning more intensely at night, try to finish your dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before you actually go to bed. This gives your stomach enough time to properly process most of your meal before you lie down for sleep. Additionally, when you do go to sleep, try keeping your head and shoulders slightly elevated. You can do this with an extra pillow or by slightly raising the head of your bed. This small adjustment uses gravity to your advantage, helping to reduce the upward movement of stomach acid, which in turn helps you sleep more peacefully through the entire night. When will you actually see results? At this point, you might be wondering, realistically, how soon will changing these habits actually start making a noticeable difference in how I feel? Based on my experience treating thousands of patients with this exact issue, here's what you can generally expect. If you consistently follow all 3 methods I've outlined, proper water timing, thorough chewing, and post-meal walking, you'll typically notice a clear, tangible reduction in gas and bloating within the very first week. It won't be perfect immediately, but the difference is usually noticeable enough that you'll feel motivated to keep going. Within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice, most patients report that their constipation has improved significantly. Bowel movements become more regular, more comfortable, and far less of a daily struggle. And if you commit to maintaining these habits for a full month, the vast majority of patients experience a meaningful, noticeable drop in stomach heat and chest burning, often eliminating it almost entirely. I want to be honest with you though, this isn't a magic fix, and there's no overnight miracle here. What we're really doing is simply giving your body back its natural digestive process, the one it was always designed to use, but one that we ourselves disrupted through years of rushed eating and poorly timed drinking. The body is remarkably good at healing itself once you remove the obstacles standing in its way. Before we wrap up, I want to mention something important, because I take patient safety very seriously, and I don't want anyone watching this to rely solely on a YouTube video for serious medical concerns. This video is intended for general informational purposes, based on patterns I've observed across thousands of patients. However, if your symptoms are severe, if you notice any blood in your stool, if you're experiencing unexplained or rapid weight loss, or if these symptoms have persisted intensely for several weeks despite trying to change your habits, please do not rely on self-treatment alone. Consult a qualified doctor as soon as possible. These kinds of symptoms can sometimes be a sign of a more serious underlying condition that requires proper medical evaluation and testing. Your health is too important to leave to guesswork, and what we've discussed today is meant to complement proper medical care, not replace it entirely. So, to bring everything together, today you learned that the real underlying root cause of gas, constipation, and stomach heat for the vast majority of people isn't some rare, complicated disease. It's a simple, everyday habit that nearly all of us have overlooked our entire lives, simply because it's so deeply normalized in how we were raised to eat. Drinking too much water with meals, and eating too quickly without properly chewing. This is the mistake that has been quietly troubling millions of people for years, sometimes decades, without them ever realizing the true cause. The good news is that fixing this doesn't require any expensive treatment, any complicated routine, or any drastic lifestyle change. It simply requires awareness and a genuine commitment to doing things just a little differently, starting today. If today's video genuinely helped you understand your own body a little better, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It helps this information reach more people who are struggling silently with the exact same issues. Please share this video with friends and family members who you know are going through this same struggle. You might be surprised how many people in your life are dealing with this without ever talking about it openly. And if this is your first time here on the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you never miss important, practical health content like this in the future. Before you go, let me know down in the comments below. Do you also drink a lot of water with your meals? Were you surprised by anything you learned in this video today? And most importantly, are you ready to start changing this habit? Starting tonight? Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.